inviting me for such a great opportunity to share and inclusive language with everyone. I think yeah, it's a hot topic now. Yeah, because more and more people going global, and diversity is one of an important elements and to achieve global success. And inclusive language is a very important factor to achieve the diversity, DEI, and diversity, equity, and inclusive during the company. So here are my topics. Here are my brief introduction. I have nearly 20 years industry experience, and started as a translator, and then I help Chinese company going global with my expertise, which is my expertise in language and localization. And I will analyze their requirement on content, content writing, and content localization, and provide a dedicated solution to this company. Yeah. Okay, here is my QR code for my WeChat. You can add me on WeChat. Okay, so here are my topics. 4 parts. One is I will share that why inclusive language matters, and then challenges and solutions in content creation. And then I will share the RWS inclusive language guideline. We have created one, so I will introduce it. And for last part is about localization. So I will start. First, I want so why inclusive language is very important, because our language need to change. Actually, as a human, we left African maybe 2 million years ago, and during the most of the time, human lived as hunters and gatherers. So there are many physical activities, and the body was evolved based on these activities. But maybe 7 or 8 thousand years ago, human society totally different than before, because there are civilization appeared. So we have different activities. For example, many people sit all day, not all day hunting. So there are the body, the modern body cannot match. The body cannot match the modern activity, which there are some diseases. For example, lumbar disc herniation. That this disease cannot happen on our ancestors, so only on the modern human, right? Because our body cannot match the activities now. And the same for the language. English has a long story. It has over English for this language exists for more than 1,000 years. And now the top 100 words we used are from the 1,000 years ago. So the English is old now, and also there are some technical terms where you maybe happened, maybe appeared maybe 300 years ago, when there are industry evolution, first industry evolution. So many technical terms also need to change. For example, in computer science, there is a term named the master-slave model, which now is not very popular in the modern society, because slave, right, master and slave, it's a very old it's a old society model. So now it's not proper now. So more and more people changed this term into primary secondary model. Yeah, especially for global companies. For the language in the global companies need to be inclusive because global companies face communication challenges due to cultural difference. Um, oh, sorry, there should be companies because in such companies, the people from different culture, they have different background, and the people from different culture may have different interpretation on the same thing. For example, for this gesture, we Chinese know it's okay means okay, but for people in Brazil, it's an insulting gesture, and also for blacklist, Hemindan maybe for Chinese people think oh it's okay no problem for this term, but if your company has black people, um, because blacklist the items in this list are not good, right? Um, they may think why black means that, right? Why list means good. So in this way, it should also be updated. For example, updated to block list, not blacklist. And also, inclusive language conveys respect to reduce cultural conflicts. Yeah, for example, we know that for French, for Frenchmen, their education tell them that uh, you could point out one's error um, directly, straightforward. It's a good way that will benefit the both parties. But in Chinese, we know that we should care about our face, 面子, right? We should not point out someone's error directly, because in this way, maybe you may think that I'm not satisfied you. But in this case, if everyone use inclusive language, people will know. Oh, you are humble, you are honest, you are courtesy. So I will think that you maybe you are not satisfied on me. Maybe there are some cultural conflicts because using inclusive language will make you apply people, right? So which will reduce cultural conflicts in the company. And also there are actual benefits. For example, for inside the company, if the company use all the people use inclusive language inside the company, there will be enhanced team performance. Because if a company are full of people from different culture, different background, they they may view a thing from different perspectives. So, for example, if there is brainstorming, there will be more creative, right? But this environment need to be developed by by using inclusive language. So it will foster such an environment that everyone um, should think from their perspective, and then create more to become more creative for the company. And also it also benefit for talent acquisition, because if your recruitment advertisement is inclusive enough, using inclusive language, you will reach more talented people. Yeah, and it's easier for recruit more talented people. And for outside of company, it's also will um, will bring actual benefit for the company. For example, for the market performance, it will gain more profit according to the analyze from McKinsey. There will be more profit if you use inclusive language, because inclusive language will make the company more diverse. For consumer impact, also there are some data. For example, 42 of LGBTQ consumers will switch brands based on inclusive uh, inclusivity. Yeah, because if a brand provide inclusive language, inclusive message, I will switch to that brand if I'm LGBTQ. Yeah, and also it's especially for General Z. Yeah, because for General Z, nearly half of the people think they are people of color, and 20% of people think they belong to LGBTQ. Yeah, and also for business relationships, if you are a vendor of a client, and if you could provide that you are inclusive enough, for example, if you have an inclusive language guideline, you tell your client, I have this guideline, which means I'm very inclusive. The client may satisfy with that, because it will increase your competition from your vendors. Yeah, because more and more clients are focused on the diversity, on inclusive. Yeah, so it's also a benefit for your business relationships, especially with your client. And also many people estimated the power of language. Yeah. Um, Language, if we speak a language consistently, they will make our brain changed. Yeah, change, and then make our action changed. For example, in German and Spanish, for these two language, they are all grammatical gender. For example, if there is a term or noun, it will be applied a gender, male and or female, for example. And for this word bridge, it's very interesting, because in German, this word bridge are female, and in Spanish, this word bridge are male. So if we read about the German text about describing a bridge, we will see it is described as beautiful, as elegant. Yeah, but same bridge. If in Spanish, it will be maybe great, grand, huge, blah blah blah. Yeah, so the same thing that if you use different language to describe it, the result is different. And also for this example, there is a people in Australia named Tayar people. For such group of people, in their language, there is no right and left. There is only spatial concepts or orientation. For example, they only use west, east, north, and to describe an direction or orientation. For example, please give me the cup on the left, or please um give me the give me how to say give me the phone on east on northeast. So for these people, they will not lost in the road because they always know where they are. Yeah. And also, I'm not sure if you have watched this movie named Arrival. Yeah. Which means that learning an alien language leads to new thought patterns. Yeah. In this film, the alien could estimate, could foresee the future. And if you know their language, you could also foresee the future. So language is very important and it is underestimated. If you want to promote the inclusive language across your company, it's a good proof, right? And also, we know that inclusive language is very important now. So the next, we may think how to promote it. Before do that, we should know that it's not a very easy task. Yeah, it's not easy that if I publish a guideline about inclusive language, all the people will use it. It's not that easy. If you want to promote it, you need to agree with your boss, with your manager, because you need some budgets, because it's not an easy task, full of challenge. Because in human brain, there are unconscious bias. For example, Susan Pozo is a professor, and we see that she's very young at that time, and she said that a lot of people addressed her as Mrs. Pozo, but for her male colleagues, uh, they will name it as Professor. For example, Professor Smith, and also the assumptions, there are assumptions about her. For example, if she has no child, or if she is only associate, uh, uh, if she is only an associate, not a real professor, blah blah blah. So yeah, because she is young and she's a woman, right? So there are unconscious bias from the colleagues and from the students. It's no malicious intent and deeply integrated about integrated thought patterns, and it's automatic. And if we want to promote inclusive language, we need to know some general principles. First, we need to avoid unnecessary emphasis. For example, for this sentence, our community has 1,000 residents, including 10 blind people. So for this part is unnecessary, right? And also, if we are not sure how to call the people, we could ask for their opinion. We could ask their preferred terms. For example, in Shanxi province, um, there is a term 老陕, means all the Shanxi people, 老陕. Some of them ask like this term, but some of them not. And they may think there are some insulting, but some people also like it because they think it's very close relationship. So we could ask first, hey, what do you want to, what do you want I call you, right? And for the third, it's no normal, which means that, for example, we need to avoid industry jargon without explanation. For example, in our language service industry, we all know that TM means translation memory, but for the people not in our industry, they may not know about it. So if we told them this TM is big, this TM is good, the quality of this TM is bad, they may not know what that means, right? Because in this scenario, we think we are normal. All the people all the normal people should know TM, what TM mean, but it's not. And also, we need to avoid the default perspective terms like non-white. Right? We could see some people said that for non-white people, they may blah blah blah. So in this way, and they are white people, they think they are normal, and they think um, so non-white is not a proper term. So we should notice about these general principles. And next, we could create a lexicon, which is done by AWS, and we could scan this QR code to download this lexicon. And um, for this lexicon in AWS, there are a team to develop this lexicon. There is a project manager for monitor the progress, and there is a terminologist. We select a terminologist from our company, and there is also QA. And for this lexicon, there are five main parts. First is about specialty, religion, and beliefs. Consideration for diverse regions, beliefs, and practices is essential. Focus on using neutral terms and avoid generalizations or assumptions about specific belief systems. For example, church. For this word, we should replace it with more specific terms like temple, right? And also like mosque. Yeah. And the second part is about sexual orientation and gender identity and gender relations. Inclusive language for gender and sexuality respects diverse identities and relationships. Carefully chosen terms can shape attitudes and promote equality. For example, we should replace boyfriend and girlfriend with more general terms like partners, right? And also, third is about the age, appearance, and sci socioeconomic status. Avoid terms that perpetuate stereotypes about age, physical appearance, or economic status. Focus on strengths to economic fairness and respect each person's uniqueness. Uniqueness. For example, for this term elderly, we should replace this term with old adults, for example. The first part is about race and nationality, and I also introduced the example of blacklist. We could use blocklist, right? And for last part is about accessibility and health. When describing disabilities or healthy conditions, prioritize the person, not the condition. For example, for the term disabled person, we could replace it with a person with disability. So that's the main part, each part of this lexicon, and there are more detailed examples inside this guideline, and you could scan it and fill some information, and you could download. So why AWS generate this lexicon? Because AWS is a diverse, is a company with diversity. There are 62 offices across 34 countries, and female are more than male in AWS. So we have this requirement to use inclusive language. And also we find that many companies, the source is not inclusive enough. So we also developed this guideline to direct or educate our client to be more inclusive. Another reason is that in AWS there is a group named ERG. Yeah, there is a ERG group, employee resource group. There are 6 teams. For example, there are culture, ethnicity team, LGBTQ team, persons with disabilities team. With the help of these teams, our lexicon will be more complete because they are all professionals. They are all subject matter experts, and they provide feedback, and they also reviewed the whole lexicon. Yeah. Yeah. Next step is about content creation. Yeah, which is very familiar with content designers. Yeah, a good way to use inclusive language when creating content is that integrate the relative the corresponding rules into the standards. For example, integrate it into our writing style guide. There is a Microsoft writing style guide. We could find some inclusive language guide. There is bias-free communication, which is make our communication inclusive. And next step is cross-team alignment. Yeah, now here I list all the purpose of each content. Some content are for marketing entry, for example, UI copy. Some content for compliance purpose, for example, there are compliance materials. Yeah, so we could align with these teams, and because I think we content writers or designers have this responsibility to let other team know that about it, because it's necessary and important. After we do some updating with the inclusive language, don't forget about the existing content. For example, if you update your UI copy with more inclusive language, don't forget to also update the terms in the technical files or technical docs. And also, you may also change your SEO strategy. For example, if you set some words that's not inclusive enough as keywords before, and you need to update it with more inclusive language, so you need to change your keywords and change your SEO strategy. Don't forget about it. So next step is inclusive language localization. And actually, it's more challenge compared with creation. Yeah, because first, there are some market-specific challenges. Cultural variations require careful consideration of inclusivity implementation. For example, some markets may resist language modifications. For example, because I know French are the people in French are very proud of French, of this language. They will not want to change this language, especially some old terms they don't want to change. So even though it may not inclusive enough, but they don't want to change. If you change it, the result may not good. And also there are some culture may conflict with inclusive principles. For example, in some countries, there are the male and the female are not equal enough, right? For some countries, especially with some religions. Yeah. So if still the same if we promote inclusive language in these countries, the result may not good. So before we decide if we need to apply inclusive language or not, first we need to do some market research to find out if implement inclusive language will only implemented it in a society that view it as progressive. Otherwise, maybe we don't need to promote it now. Yeah. And for some languages, especially for Russian, for example, Russian, French, German, that the language with genders, there is naturally complexity in this language because a lot of terms or nouns and they have gender, right? They are male or female. So naturally, it's very hard to make this language inclusive because in this way it may it may not comply with their grammatically rules. Yeah, if you want it inclusive, it may there will be errors in grammar. Yeah, so in this way, they creative solutions in translation is needed, which means is that you need more budget. If you want if you want the language, the target language is inclusive enough, you need enough budget because you need to recruit a very professional RSP, and they should creative enough, and they will spend out a lot of money to achieve the goal. So get your budget ready. Otherwise, it's really hard. Yeah. Okay. So after we conquer all these challenges, we should still develop the style guide about localization. Yeah. We need to update the localization style guide. We need to update our language assets, including glossaries and translation memories, to let all the translators to apply them during translation, during localization. And also we need also to prepare for QA. Yeah, for example, I know some clients do the QA internally or use another language service provider to do the QA. Before do that, please educate them that you should use inclusive language. In this way, it will save time when do the LQA rebuttal, when there are different opinions about the LQA result. So don't forget about it. Okay, in one sentence to conclude, is that inclusive language bridges cultures and minds, turning global differences into the greatest organizational strengths. Yeah, okay. That's all. And here is my QR code and our company RWS WeChat official account. And also, it's the RWS Inclusive Language Report. You could also scan the QR code to download it. Okay, that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate it. Oh my god, I really enjoy the examples that you made of how different languages affect the perception, including how in some regions people are just so aware of the directions just because their language structured that way. That's absolutely wonderful. It reminded me of a book called The Power of Language.
Oh,
It's an
really? Oh,
attempt to look into how languages develop and how we use language and how it affects our cognitive capacities. So yeah, if you guys liked the examples that Leo shared today, I suggest you check out that book too. Very very nice.
okay,
And
okay. The power
I
of
have
language. Okay.
yeah, the power of language. I can send the link in the chat so you guys can check it out. Yeah, and I had another question for you, Leo. And while we're doing this, folks, please feel free to drop your own questions in the group chat. Yeah, I wanted to know where did you get this data on LGBT communities and its impact on business? Because I would love to
Oh,
learn more about that.
yeah, I searched from Google, and I also checked some reports in PDF file from some consulting firm, for example, McKinsey or Accenture. Yeah, this consulting firm. Because actually in other countries, especially for Western countries, the emphasis on inclusive, on DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusive, they are very focused on it. And there are many publications from this consulting firms and from
Mm,
big companies. They also will release the data, the corresponding data to the global people that we are a DEI company and we are we are a very diversity company. Yeah.
mm. All right. Speaking of being a company that really embraces diversity, we have another question from Arnaud. He was asking, are there any specific frameworks or tools that Yulia would recommend for auditing and improving language inclusivity in existing brand content? So how can a brand assess their current content and make sure that it really complies with the best practices of diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I think because inclusive language is young and it is developed maybe 3 or 4 years ago. You remember that at that time the Black life is life, right? Maybe in this period, inclusive language developed, and also our the lexicon, RWS lexicon is still developing. There is only English version. What I
Mm,
mean is that it's very young and it's still developing. It's not as mature as localization. We have MQM standards, we have quality standards, but now I think maybe not very mature standards. And maybe we could use the power of LLM that we tell
mm,
them, we input some data to the LLM and to rely on them to maybe provide some feedback about it. Yeah,
mm. Yeah, that can be a good first step, right?
yeah,
If you really short on resources, but yeah, just like you were saying earlier, it's always better to involve human specialists to evaluate
yeah,
the content and
yeah,
help make it right for everybody. And now that we were talking about brands adapting and applying this new higher standards to the content they produce, can you maybe share some examples of brands that already successfully adapted their language inclusively on the global scale? And what can we learn from them if you see any such cases? But I also understand that it's probably, like you said, very new direction for
yeah.
development of language and localization services. So, what is the closest thing? Which brand does it right, in your opinion? And what can we learn from them?
Yeah, when I searching the internet, I find that some brands, but I'm not sure about the names. They changed the brand name.
Hmm.
Yeah, for example, there is a maybe a football game, football team in America. Before they change it, it is the name of the local group, the local people
Mm,
there. But but they changed. And also there is an NBA team which is the Washington Wizards now, but before the name is the Bullets. Yeah, Bullets. Maybe they change because it's the Bullets. Maybe it's not a good term, right?
Mm.
But yeah, yeah. There are some examples I could check after the session. Yeah, I believe there are some really great examples about the brand name change because of the inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess last question from me, unless there are any other questions from folks. Last chance to ask you a question in the group chat. And while you're doing this, Leo, I'm just really curious because it's a very long and costly process, right? To embed the principles of diversity and inclusion in your writing process, in your localization process, to make sure that you got the right experts from the right markets and you really understand your target audience and you really speak the same language.
Yeah.
Yes, is there any kind of, based on the current industry status, uh, is there any kind of benchmark or a way to evaluate how inclusive is your brand, or how to hit this first acceptable level of inclusivity?
Yeah, I think the source is the most important,
Mm,
right? And that's another benefit of using English or Chinese, especially for using English as source. Yeah, because English is have no gender, right?
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
and it will be easier as a bridge language. Um, First, we make English inclusive enough, and then we will tell the localizers that please be careful about it. But if it conflicts with your culture, or it's will cost you a lot of time to do it, to do this change, yeah, you can also ignore. Yeah, right. So I think first we need to make English inclusive enough, but it's also not a very easy way. Yeah, for example, RWS created this lexicon um, in English, but the team also consulted many colleagues. Yeah, because English is also have locales, right? There are Irish English, Ireland English, Australian English, and they should consider different locales to agree then develop the lexicon. Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. If you want to get it right for all the languages, make sure that you get it right for the source language first. That's the
Yes.
rule for
Yes.
localization, right? If
Yeah.
your source language is not inclusive, how can anything else be inclusive?
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right. And actually, we have another question from Itun. Um, yeah. So, Itun, would you like me to read your question, or would you like to jump in and say it
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. So I have a very a specific question because this also comes from a work example as well. I remember when we were doing sort of like Christmas campaign, and then we sent the campaign for legal review, and then we got the feedback saying, ideally we should not use Christmas.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was like, if we don't use Christmas, what kind of wording we should use? And then I was looking at the PDF you provided and also noticed the same suggestion
Mhm.
as well, which is very interesting. But from the business perspective, and then if we, because Christmas is already like very strong and popular concept in so many countries, and then if
Mm.
we neutralize it in a way that say happy holidays, I'm afraid it won't really resonate well with the local users. And in this case, what would you suggest in terms of naming in this
Yeah.
case? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Yiqing. That's a very good question. And I think we should depend. depend on the actual environment. For example, it's still a rule that I mentioned that if not necessary, we don't mention it. Otherwise, which means that if it is necessary, we should mention, right? So if Christmas in your description is necessary and it's easy for the readers to understand, we should use that. Otherwise, you said if you just said that maybe a holiday, maybe people don't know which holiday, right? So I still think that depend on the actual target, actual goal of the text, which message it should convey, um, and we should use different terms. Yeah, and also inclusive language is also, I think, is a guide. It's a guide, right? It's increase, or it added another option to your to the text. So I think it will help you to make your text inclusive, but it's not a glossary that we should follow.